Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the initial episode of Art's Perspective. And in the first episode of Our Perspective, we're going to talk about the risk management framework. This YouTube channel is dedicated to the subject of information assurance, IT security, and cybersecurity. This first episode, we're going to cover the risk management framework, and we're going to go through it based off of a PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully you'll get a lot of information from the slides. If you have any questions about any subjects that you want to see in later episodes, please put that into the chat. So we're going to start with the risk management framework. Um, so in the risk management framework through these slides, we're going to have the table of contents, and in the table of contents, we have introduction. We're going to talk about the RMF objectives, RMF key principles, the 7 steps in the RMF process, the benefits of RMF, challenges and best practice associated with RMF. We're going to have a conclusion slide, and then after that conclusion slide, we're going to have questions and answers. So the RMF framework is a structured, risk-based approach to security compliance. It is developed by NIST, or the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and is adopted by federal agencies, and a lot of the industry organizations also leverage it. It integrates security and risk management into the system development and the software development lifecycle. The objectives of the risk management frameworks: to manage risk to operations, assets, individuals, and nations. It ensures compliance with the Federal Information Security Modernization Act, NIST Special Publication 837, which is the document that is contained in, FedRAMP, and CMMC. It also promotes continuous monitoring and ongoing authorization. It supports informed risk-based decisions. And some of the key principles of the risk management framework: risk-based decision making, integration with SDLC, continuous monitoring. Organizations also align with the mission and IT, and it's a shared responsibility across stakeholders in any organization. And then these are the 7 steps in the risk management framework. Even though it's numbered 1 through 7, the first step is considered to be step 0. And that's the prepare step, where you establish context and assign roles. That's actually before you start the risk management framework. So a lot of times you'll hear this step referred to as step 0. The real step 1 of that is to categorize the systems in the risk management framework. And you do that by defining systems and then assigning impact levels to systems. After you categorize the system, then the next step is to select, which you choose a baseline of security controls. The next step after that would be to implement. And the implement step, you apply documents and security controls. The next step would be assess, where you evaluate the security controls effectiveness. Step 6 is that once you do an assessment, you do a review of the artifacts that's associated with that assessment package, and then the authorizing official makes a risk-based decision off of the information that's contained in the assessment package. And then the final step is monitoring. So once a system goes through the granting of authorization or not, if an authorization is granted to a system, Then the system goes from being authorized to what's considered to be continuous monitoring. And then that system is reassessed on a interim basis, either a year or some amount of time that's established by that organization. So we're going to walk through some of the elements of the prepare step. In the prepare step, you identify stakeholders and the responsibilities of those stakeholders. You define the risk management strategy in this step. You establish governance, policies, and resources. And then in step two, the categorize step, the system boundaries and information types are established during this step. You determine the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information contained in the system. The results of the system security categorization is either going to be at low, moderate, or high, and that's going to be based off of the data or information type that's been transmitted, stored, or processed in that system. And then the next step would be select. In the select step, you select a baseline of security controls from Special Publication 853. And 853 is the catalog of security controls that are used to assess information systems. Part of the selection is also, once you identify whether or not the baseline is low, moderate, or high, you do some additional tailoring based off of whether or not a specific security control from a baseline is actually applicable to a specific system. You then document all of that information in a system security plan. And then in step four, the implement step, you deploy and configure the security controls for that system. You document the control implementation. You integrate that into IT operations. So once you implement the security controls, then if a system goes into operations, then those things are integrated into the way that system is operated in the production environment. The assess step, you do a security control assessment. Then you do testing and validation of the effectiveness of the security controls and how they're described and what the requirements are of those security controls. You also take the findings of a security control and you put those findings in a security assessment report. And then the next step, step six, would be the authorized step. In this step, you have risk determinations and you do get an acceptance of even an acceptance or denial by the authorizing official. You also review a plan of action and milestone, and a plan of action and the milestones are those findings. So when you do an assessment of security controls either pass or they fail. If security controls fail, then the reason behind the failure, the weakness that is associated with that failure, what steps you're going to take in order to remediate the failure, the timelines that you're going to take in order to remediate those failures, all of that information is going to be contained in the plan of actions and milestones. You also, and doing this one, is going to be decisions made from the authorizing official. And there's only three decisions that can be made. Either the authorizing official is going to grant an authorization to operate, he's going to deny the system an authorization to operate, or he or she is going to grant a conditional authorization to operate. And then the final step is monitor. So in monitoring, once the system has been granted an authorization, then it goes into what's considered to be continuous monitoring, where there's a continuous effort to for a system to maintain its security posture. So you're going all of the activities that are done in order to allow that system to maintain its authorization to operate is done in continuous monitoring. Also, you have ongoing vulnerability scans, logging, patching, compliance scans. Those are some of the activities that are done to show that the system is maintaining its security posture and is based on some of these activities. You're also going to update the documents that were produced during the assessment process. The cybersecurity assessment report that'll be updated. If there's any changes to the security controls, the system security plan is updated. If there's any changes to how a specific security control is updated, it's also updated if a security control goes away because now there's a data type that's been added to the system. There may be some functionality that's added to a system that causes the system security plan to be updated. And also in the plan of actions and milestone, you're going to track the activities associated with you addressing the weaknesses that were found when the security control failed. So that's also done in the monitoring step. And then based off of those activities, you will have either reauthorization as needed. The reauthorization of the system is normally done if there's some type of significant change to a system. If there is no significant change during this process, then it's going to ongoing authorization. And an ongoing authorization is just you looking at all of those activities that have been done in order for the system to maintain its security posture, and that artifacts are collected based off those activities, and those artifacts are presented to the authorizing official so he or she can make a decision to either um, stop the or discontinue the authorization of that system, or to have that authorization of that system to continue. And that's where you have the ongoing authorization process. So these are some of the benefits of the risk management framework. So stronger security posture, because if you're actually going through those different activities where you're patching the your systems, you're looking at the compliance scans to ensure that the proper security settings are in those systems. You're updating the documents associated with the system when there's any changes to those systems, and then you're continuing to look at the security posture of the system. You're continuing to look at how a system is accessed. So all of those are the different activities that go along with increasing or maintaining a strong security posture for your system. Also, you want to look at systems to see whether or not they maintain any of the regulatory requirements that are needed. And then you want to be able to have clear accountability of those systems. And then you're going to enhance trust with these stakeholders, because all those activities that you're doing, they're not done in a silo. You're doing those things in collaboration with the technical POCs, system owners, and any stakeholder who has any type of association with that system. And then one of the other benefits is that the risk management framework supports the zero trust, and it also aligns with cloud adoption. So some of the challenges and best practices associated with the risk management framework is resource intensive. The documentation is sometimes burdensome, and then there are always evolving threats. Best practices to integrate or incorporate in the risk management framework is that you want to bring in as many automated mechanisms as you can, because then that helps you to streamline that process, and that also allows you to have information in more um, closer to real time. You also want to integrate that in your DevSecOps process when you're talking about like the development of software. You want to make sure that every phase in the DevSecOps process has security activities, and then you also want to make sure that they have gates that allow you to go from one phase to that next phase to that next phase until it gets promoted into production. You, Another thing that uh, you would need in order for you to effectively implement the risk management framework is that you're going to need an executive sponsorship, and you're also going to need regular training so people understand what their roles are when it applies to the implementation of the risk management framework. And then in conclusion, RMS provides a structured path for risk-based security. It also ties into continuous monitoring, and then it ensures resiliency of your system. It also aligns with the mission and objectives of your organization. And it's key that the risk management framework ties into whatever the business objectives are of your organization, and also the overall mission of your organization. There's also security is a continuous journey, and that's why you hear the term continuous, because in order for you to maintain the proper level of security, you have to do this on a continuous basis. So it's not like it's just a snapshot in time and then you ignore it. It's something that you have to do on a continuous basis. So if there's no questions or answers with this, we're going to end this presentation on the risk management framework. Hopefully you learned some information from our presentation. If you have any additional questions, like I said, just put it in the chat. And we hope to see you on a later episode of Arts Perspective. Thanks for joining us.